Hello viewers, welcome once again to our usual tips on businesses and businessmen and women as the case may be. Today we will be looking at a few qualities that an average entrepreneur should have, I will say even must have, so that they can succeed in business. Number one, risk managers dimension risk or risk takers in fundamentally two different spectrums. Risk takers and risk averters. Some people are by their nature don't like risk, so they don't take risk. And other people do like to take risk. Taking risk is a must. The fact that we even live and we go out to look for our daily bread in itself is an aspect of taking risk. Now, why am I talking about risk? The whole gamut of business by its nature is an opportunity to take risk. In the business school, we were taught theory that was espoused by certain professors of risk called Modigliner and Miller, that they espouse a theory that says risk and returns are correlated, meaning the higher the risk you take, the higher the likely rate of returns or money you will be able to make. Now, why am I talking about risk? Fundamentally, any entrepreneur looking towards starting a business, he or she must have the opportunity and the dexterity, the capacity, the courage to take a risk. Without taking a risk, you won't be able to be in business. So one major quality of an entrepreneur is what? Ability to take risk. But should you be taking risk like in gambling? Should you be taking risk like in what we call uncalculated risk? No. So there are varying degrees of risk. Yes, the higher a risk, the higher the return. However, you don't just take a stupid action thinking that you are taking a risk when you know that you are likely going to fail. I give you an example. A fisherman, a gentleman getting into a river to fish for either sheep, shrimps, or other waterborne animals, that person is taking risk. But seldom will a fisherman get into a river without first learning how to swim. Now, yes, he or she is taking risk to get into a river, but we call that risk calculated risk. Why is it calculated risk? Because more often than not, they would have learned the proficiency of swimming, and in the unlikely event of a tide coming up, they are able to swim to the coastal or the shores and are saved. Often they also have other, life jacket that we take. There are traditional life jacket like the calabash that you normally put on the water, and then the fisherman can be on top of the calabash and still floating. Others, they have their, fellow fishermen by the side that they can easily dive and save them. And there are quite a number of other, what we can call mitigating factor of the risk. I'm taking a little bit of time to discuss risk because fundamentally, the major success factor of any business is the ability of the shareholder or the owner to take risk. Imagine 2-3 examples I will give. Like the owner of Globalcom, Chief Mike Adenega. Imagine Alhaji Ali Dangote. Imagine the gentlemen in the banking industry, call them Jim Obia or Tony Elumelu. And in other, businesses in the oil sector, call them Dr. Lai Fatona, who is reputed to be the early mover in the Nigerian oil sector operators. There are quite a number of them that were bold enough, they were courageous enough. They had the capacity and the wherewithal to take on risk and be able to succeed. So fundamentally, you need to have the courage and the ability to take on risk. Remember, we did discuss in the past, what are the qualities of an entrepreneur, what is needed for somebody to be an entrepreneur, and we did address that fact on the fact that one needs to research in-depthly on the need to identify a certain gap that one has been able to identify, so that he or she will work towards meeting those gaps. Of course, you also need to start looking at how do I raise the qualities or the human capital or the technology needed to produce the goods or the service that I want to sell to people and to make some money. These are some of the qualities that an entrepreneur requires in order to be able to succeed, so that he or she can create a business that can render goods or services to mankind. Once again, thank you for being with us. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, when we come around sharing knowledge, trying to make sure that we create a vibrant business environment, vibrant and courageous businessmen and women. Without you, remember, Nigeria cannot be great. If there are no businessmen and women, where will our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren be able to work? Let's have the courage. Let's have the thinking. Let's have, the audacity to be able to create businesses, so that even if we are not going to employ, people from other families, let us within ourselves create opportunities that our children can have places to work. Once again, thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.